When I graduated college, I had a 4-year degree. I was making $8 an hour. And I had a lot of college friends that were like making fun of me and laughing at me. And it was a piece of humble pie. And I always try and center myself in humble confidence. Like that's the name of my LLC for Chick-fil-A, is humble confidence. And so being humble in the ways that you need to be, and then also being confident in your ability to step up and rise to the occasion.
I got an opportunity to do a walk and talk with Spencer Frey, who is the owner of the Chick-fil-A in Vista Gardens, correct?
Yes, sir.
Huge fan of Chick-fil-A, the best chicken sandwich on the planet.
In today's day and age, social media, Instagram, there's all this comparison. And maybe this person's the same age as mine, they drive this car, they do that. In my nature, competitive, super competitive. But the Bible says comparison is the thief of all joy. When you're in that job or you're doing this or doing that and you have a friend that's just making it and doing really great, I would just challenge you not to ever compare yourself.
All right, hello, welcome back to the channel. This is Jimmy, and thank y'all for clicking on another video. I am super excited about this. I got an opportunity to do a walk and talk with Spencer Frey.
Yes, sir.
Who is the owner of the Chick-fil-A in Vista Gardens, correct?
Yes, sir, that's me.
Wanted to invite you on the channel to hear some perspective on leadership. Like, I'm a huge fan of Chick-fil-A, the best chicken sandwich on the planet.
Thank you.
Every time I go to like a high dining restaurant, I order a chicken sandwich, and I'm like, dang, I should have just went to Chick-fil-A and saved $10, $15.
I don't order chicken sandwiches from other restaurants.
I don't blame you. But listen, we'd love to kind of introduce yourself, hear a little bit about your story, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so originally from Maryland, grew up in Baltimore County, went to public school growing up, went to Christian school a little bit growing up in middle school, and then went back to public school in high school. I've got an identical twin brother who looks just like me. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if we switched places. And then I've got a younger brother who's 5 years younger than the twins. So my twin brother and I went down to Pensacola to further our education, went to college in Pensacola Christian College.
That's awesome. So y'all went to college together.
Yes. That was one thing that was like, doesn't matter what we study, we got to find the same school. He and I are super close. Like, we talk every day, multiple times a day. Like, I could go on my phone and see like every other call is probably Andrew.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're talking all the time. And he's actually opening up a new Chick-fil-A in Texas later this summer. So he got selected to be an operator a couple months ago. So super excited for him.
Congratulations. We'd love to hear. So you said selected to be an operator.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, Chick-fil-A does the franchising work, or the operator a little bit different. We'd love to hear a little bit about that and like your decision to jump into that space.
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My wife graduated a year and a half before me. She studied business and marketing just like I did. And she had an opportunity to become a marketing director at a local Chick-fil-A. So she worked for an operator in Macon, Georgia, where she was doing family nights, fun events. She was helping with catering, social media, just really growing the business from that marketing competitive landscape. And through talking with her as I was finishing up my degree, I just heard story after story of how awesome the opportunity was to work for such a great brand, to be able to work for somebody who was a local owner, and it wasn't just like a corporate chain. Like, Lexo worked very closely with the franchise owner. And so I thought, like, man, that's an awesome opportunity. So when I graduated college, he recruited me out of college and was like, hey, come be a leader. We would love to have you on the team. And we always joke about it now to this day. He tried to recruit me to really keep her on the payroll. So
that's smart, man.
Yeah, Lexo was an awesome at what her job was. So when I graduated, I really started as a team member because I wasn't 100% like bought in and sold on Chick-fil-A. But after a month, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And so went through like a 2-year plan with him to just kind of learn as much about the business as I could, and had an opportunity to get selected for what's called the Leadership Development Program. It's a corporate program where it's field ops. You travel for 50 weeks out of the year, and you're literally on the road. So my wife and I lived in a hotel, had a rental car for 2.5 years. So basically sold everything. We sold one of our cars, didn't have a house, like packed everything up and just moved all around the country. So I helped open 10 restaurants across the country, anywhere from like Minnesota, New Mexico, Tucson, Arizona, was in New Orleans, Iowa, North Carolina. I opened a restaurant in Annapolis, and that role was just supporting new operators, helping them just get everything in place, getting the team ready, help hiring a team. And then we coordinated a lot of trainers to come out and support the grand opening. So all of that was just a pipeline to be able to get a lot of really good experience on how to operate a restaurant, how to grand open a restaurant, and then the other part was running corporately owned restaurants. So if an operator was to retire, relocate, it would go from a franchise-owned restaurant to a corporately owned restaurant, and then an interim manager would run the restaurant in the interim until they can find a new restaurant owner to come in and take over the franchise. So lots of different experiences, and all of that really just builds up the resume and the acumen to be able to understand how a restaurant works. So back in,
it's actually really smart.
Yes. Oh, it was great. Like it's, you go through it. They called us the Navy SEALs of Chick-fil-A because you would go in and sometimes you'd have a really tough restaurant. Like one of the restaurants that I was helping was in a mall. We were doing like $2,000 a day, and it was a really big challenge. It was super tough. The team was really tough, and it was a hard one. But all of that helps you learn a ton and helps you just lessen that learning curve for when you get the opportunity to open up a restaurant. So did that for 2.5 years. That was back 2015 to 2017. And then I had the opportunity to go to my first opportunity in Columbia, Maryland, where I owned the Columbia Mall for about 2 years. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
So you talked about a couple things, that really piqued my interest. I would love to kind of talk about like the staffing. Like I've been to Chick-fil-A in malls, on the road, and I mean, I'm blown away with just how consistent, like the quality of the team members typically are. And I'm not saying that, I'm pretty sure that everybody has their challenges.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really hard to find one.
Thank you.
Would love to hear like, your philosophy in, picking like the future leaders of the day. The quality of who y'all put out has been fantastic.
Yes, sir. So anytime I'm asked a question like this, like what's different about Chick-fil-A? How do you guys do it? The analogy that I always use is if I was to have one car and you had 10 cars, I'm going to take care of my one car better than you're going to take care of your 10. If you have 10 cars and one of them breaks, one of them messes up, you've got 9 other cars that you can depend on. For me, I've got one Chick-fil-A. So in a lot of quick service fast food restaurants, a lot of the owners have 5, 10, 15, 20 restaurants. And so if one of them's not performing at its very best, well, he can just, he's got others to kind of help with that. Not only that, but I couldn't imagine having 5, 10, 15 Chick-fil-A's because you can't be all in those restaurants every single day, all the time. And so for me, I think that's the best analogy that I like to tell is just, I've got one restaurant and that's what provides for my family. And not only that, but that's such a much smaller space for me to really be intentional with my time and development and finding the right people. And so you asked about team members. We're just super, I don't want to say picky. We have a very high standard. We've got a super high bar. And so just because you walk in and you've got an application and you're filling it out and we interview you, that doesn't mean that we're going to hire you. I think our hiring rate, if we interview 50 people, I bet you we might hire 5 to 10 people.
Oh, wow.
Like it's very competitive because we create that culture. We have people that see Chick-fil-A from a customer standpoint and like, I want to be a part of that team. I want to be a part of that culture because I think in other employment opportunities, they don't get that culture. They don't get that family atmosphere. And that's contagious, like you were saying, from a customer standpoint. It's contagious from an employment opportunity, from somebody who's looking for a job. I want to, especially like our younger generation, they want to be a part of a team that's bigger than just, clocking in every day and doing the same thing. They want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than that.
I think that's the one thing I learned about this generation. Like when I've been doing leading for 20 years and, getting to work with this new generation, like they want to feel like the work they do matters.
Yes.
What is there? I would love to hear. Like, is there like a certain quality that you look for? Like where I'm at now, with Apple, like I'm really big on trying to find curiosity.
Yes.
Because I'm like, if you have curiosity, you're gonna ask really great questions to customers. You're gonna give a really great solution.
Yeah.
Is there a trait or two that you're like when you see it,
Yes. So I'd say the top 2 things for me are I want somebody who's coachable. I love to ask the question, what does it mean to be coachable? And we'll talk about that, especially like athletes. I love hiring athletes because they've been coached their whole life. They know what it's like to take feedback and they're willing to learn and willing to accept things that maybe they don't want to hear. Maybe they're a little harsh or maybe they're a little tough, but we talk a lot about coaching in the restaurant. And then I would say the second one is a servant's mindset. Like I love to ask this question. When's the last time you helped somebody? And what was it? What did you do? And so if you're having a really hard time answering that question, or I can tell it's not authentic, probably not gonna, I don't know, it's not like a make or break thing, but you'd be surprised at some of those stories because I don't think that's like a typical interview question. Like, I want to get to know you, what can you do, what your qualifications are, experiences, but like I like asking that question. It really opens up this it's a very open-ended question, and you could take it and talk about maybe getting a cart for somebody, holding a door for somebody. You could talk about maybe helping a student in a class setting. Like, there's so many different opportunities you can talk through, but we've had some really good conversations around that and just opening up just like the service mindset. I want people that are coachable. I want people that are going to serve, because like that's the expectation that you have as a customer when you come in. So I'm not going to, I don't want to, I don't have the time in the day, and we don't have like this infinite amount of training that's like, we're going to train you how to be hospitable. We're going to train you how to be coachable, and we're going to train you how to be a servant mindset. Like, you've got to have those things already. And that's where it starts at home. And we don't need to, we can talk about that. But for me, I'm super grateful for my parents and just how they poured into me, and my grandparents, and how they just poured into just the person that I am today. And so I think it all starts at home. Like, when we hired your son, I told him, I was like, dude, you better go home today and give your mom a big hug.
He did, by the way. He gave me a big hug. I said, what is this for? He said, well, I was told to do it.
Yeah, because I told him, I said in that interview, I said, hey man, I'm interviewing you right now, but I feel like your parents are sitting right behind you because of how much they've poured and influenced you. And I know you didn't ask me to say that. I know, like, I vividly remember interviewing your son. I was like, wow, this guy's super sharp. Like,
I greatly
that's the difference.
It's always a great compliment for, for a parent, and I was telling you a little bit earlier, like, I wanted my kids to chase skills.
Yes, sir.
Working at Chick-fil-A, I'm like, man, if you get a job at Chick-fil-A, like, that's great. That's on your resume.
Yes.
I've hired so many people from Chick-fil-A over the years.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that. I think people think that it is all about the training. Like, I'll tell you, I thought it was just, you had amazing training, but you're very intentional.
Yes.
So before you even start that work.
Absolutely. It starts with the hiring process. It starts with when I'm interviewing somebody, and I do all the final interviews. We have some leadership that help with, like Miss Kathy, she does the initial phone call, she does that first in-person interview, and then she's taking notes and then gives them to me, and we'll schedule that final interview together. And it's always good to get two different perspectives, because the questions that she asks, the questions that I ask are all different. We don't have this one pager that says, what's your availability, what's your reliability to work, do you have, can you lift this, can you do, like, that's simple. That's kind of simple-minded. We really want to get to know you. We want to make sure that you can kind of fit in with our culture, fit in with what we're trying to pursue. And we're really trying to pursue just an awesome experience for our guests, trying to win hearts every day in the restaurant.
Y'all do an amazing job.
Thank you.
I love yours. Every time I go there, I get really, really good cared for.
Appreciate that.
So you got a chance to be exposed to the culture early on, right? Like, you get out of college, first job out of college, and it was enticing enough for you to stay.
Yes.
I would love to hear, like, what was it about the culture that was so gravitating? Because you're not the first person I hear this from.
Yeah, so I think for me, it started with Craig, my operator. So just sitting down and talking with him and just hearing his passion and his heart to serve his community, thinking about the influence that he has on his team members, thinking about the opportunity that he has to just be able to do a lot of really cool things with his platform that he has, whether it's spending a lot of great time with family or being able to do really cool events in the community. That really just struck a chord with me. And I just growing up as a kid, I've always been just that instillment of being a servant and wanting to just care for people. And so with Chick-fil-A, that's what I get to do every day. Like, I get to do this. I get to go in and clean tables and serve customers and clear trays and refresh beverages. And so I think for me, that's just kind of mentally like how I've been wired as a kid. And so just love the opportunity for that. And so I think the other aspect is, we talked about like the buckets. So the opportunity bucket that checks a lot with Chick-fil-A is just being able to support your family, do a lot of really cool things, be really generous in the community and with family. The next bucket is just the influence that we have on our community, on our team. We get to employ, I have almost 100 people that work for me on the team. And so just being able to provide those kind of jobs where
100 people.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of people that in the tenure, we've got a lot of people that have been with the restaurant for 4 to 5 years. And I've been there 5 years now. And so I've got a lot of people that have been there the whole time. And so just creating a really, really good culture is something that I learned working with Craig, my operator. And super special. And then I think the last bucket is just that flexibility, that time. With my girls, like my oldest, Kalina, she's in Taekwondo. So I get to go to all her Taekwondo events. There's not a lot of things that I miss with my family. And so as a father of 4, just being able to be super intentional in the business and then super intentional in the family are things that I've really grown to appreciate.
How have you found, if it's okay, a little bit personal of a
Yeah.
question, like, how have you been able to find the balance in that? Like, high pressure days at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
You're doing all the community work. Like, I mean, I see y'all are, you're catering events.
Yeah, we're slammed.
For like, is there a secret, or like what's the way
It's
to balance how are you balancing that and like being intentional? Because like your team definitely feels your presence.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yeah, and there's really nothing like the presence of the operator. We've and not that I'm anybody special, but I think anything, like when I think about when I worked for Craig, we had a great leadership team and he had great leaders that worked for him that were super intentional. But when he was in the business, his presence was felt from the top down. And not only from the team member aspect, but from our customers. They knew, like, ooh, I think he's the owner. And so it's the same thing for me, just the presence that I'm able to have on the community, the presence I'm able to have with my team. So for me, what I like to talk about is I'm super intentional. When I'm in the restaurant, I try and be very intentional. If I'm not adding value to my business, whether it be customer facing with our guests, or really intentional, whether it's maybe having a meeting or talking with my team members, or maybe we're going over some analytics or looking at the financials from the previous month, or just working on some leadership development on things that we want to work towards. If I'm not doing that, I like ask myself this question: how am I adding value to the business? And if I'm not adding value to the business, why am I there? How can I be adding value to my family? How can I be intentional with my wife and making sure that I'm there to be present?
There to be there.
Exactly. Like, and that's tough because when my whole experience is when I worked for Craig, I had a set schedule. When I worked at corporate, I had things that I needed to get done. And to some point, I still have that as an operator. I know what I need to get done. We've got goals and things that we're trying to work towards, but there is no set time of, all right, Spencer, today your schedule is from here to here and tomorrow it's here to here. Like I make all that. And so it's a great feeling to have, but at the same time, sometimes it's challenging to try and stay productive, but then also like be super intentional. So if I'm not adding value to the business, how can I add value to my family? How can I make time for them to, whether it's, going on a walk with my kids or picking them up from school, taking them to school, all those things.
Leadership development. I'd love to hear, like, what are some of the things you do to develop your leadership skills and I think stay fresh? And how does that, I guess, go down to your management team, or what do you do to help develop their skills?
So I think at the end of the day, you've got to find, how do you learn? How do you grow and develop? And I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's a book, or it's this podcast, or maybe it's this mentorship. For me, I'm just not a book guy. I'm not a reader. I never have been. I'm like ADD. I'll read a page and I'll forget what it was and I go back and read it again. So for me, it's really relationships with other operators, other business owners, close family friends. Like my uncle is a huge mentor of mine. There's a local operator here in Annapolis who I call him Yoda. I'm a big Star Wars fan. He's the most impressive operator I've ever met. And he's just a wealth of knowledge and just super wise. And even like my operator, Craig, super, super wise, awesome guy. And I call him all the time for family advice, business advice, personal advice, and he's always just a really good sounding board. And then I've got local friends. Like Monica is an operator right down the street from me, and we're in each other's restaurants all the time. We're going over numbers, and it's open book. And I think sometimes it's like, well, you got to be a little vulnerable to be able to say like, hey, I need help, or maybe this is a metric that I'm really trying to work on, and you're really good at it. I'd love your help. And so at the end of the day, I've got really good relationships with some of the local operators and people that I know I can trust, and I know that they've got my back and they want the best for me, and it's the same for them.
I would imagine that's pretty unique to Chick-fil-A, like being able to go to another owner's business because of the way y'all set up. Good morning.
Morning. Yes, yeah, I think it depends on the relationship. At the end of the day, like we're all operators, we're all doing the same thing, and we have different visions and goals and things that we're working on, but we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We're trying to grow our businesses. We're trying to create intentional moments with our community and our guests. We're trying to build great teams. And so there's a lot of things that we can learn from others. And I know one of the questions that you sent me, what's one of the biggest things that you've learned as an operator that maybe you didn't know at the beginning? And that to me is like finding out what I know my strengths are, and then utilizing others for my weaknesses to learn from. And that's not only like from my relationships with local business owners, but that's my team too. Like I know organization for me, like when we do end of month and we've got to basically balance the credit card and all of our expenses, that stresses me out. I can't do that. So Miss Kathy, that's my organizational, like she is amazing with that. When it comes to systems and processes and like what are we working on, how can we create a process for this or something that's a task oriented instead of like a people derived system, that's Sean. If it's something like attention to detail and really like, of course, like in the restaurant business, we're focused on that. So attention to detail and like little detailed tasks, that's Yami in the back of house. And so I think over the years, I've learned that if you're not good at something, it's totally okay. But like, don't be afraid to hire somebody that's better than you.
Yeah.
And that's what I find like, wow, that just made my life a whole lot easier. I don't have to worry about end of month. And that's something that Kathy's passionate about. Wow, like, all right, she can have that all she wants. And now it creates this ownership mindset for her. They're like, wow, my employer realizes that I'm better than him in something, and now I'm being able to utilize that to help make the business better. And he trusts me. He trusts me to be able to do that. And it's like, it's a weight lifted off my shoulders.
As you're talking, like, oh, it makes sense why the store feels that way.
Yes.
You know, I think that level of vulnerability and leadership, I think to your point, makes people want to 10x the things they do really, really well.
Yes, sir.
And knowing yourself allows you to build the best team to support yourself. That's fantastic. Was there? I want to get to like recognition and making people feel valued to close when we close out.
Yeah.
But I would love to, before I jump there, like, is there? Was there something you learned about yourself that you didn't know that you kind of uncovered as you became an owner?
Yeah. I think what we just talked about is probably the biggest one. Understanding that sometimes as a business owner, it's like, well, I've got to be good at everything. And I've got to make sure that I'm all buttoned up and I'm super polished on every aspect of the business. And so what I alluded to earlier is just being able to hire your weaknesses to be able to really complement the team. If I hire a bunch of Spencers, it's not going to get done. Like, we're going to be goofing off, we're going to be playing, and we're going to, like, culture is going to be great. That's a big thing that I'm really, really intentional on is culture.
There'll be a lot of
team
energy,
building. Yes. But like, there would be a lot that would be like, organization wouldn't be there. Systems and processes wouldn't be there. And so just realizing that you've got to really do a self-assessment and understand what you're passionate about and what you're good at and what is really important in the business, maybe some things that you're not good at, and just outsource those and find people that are just as passionate about the things that you're good at, but you know, your weaknesses. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I also think working for my operator and then working at corporate, having that mindset of like that ownership mindset. And so working for Craig and then working at corporate, I always tried to make every decision as if it were my business. And I think that was something that's really, really important as I grew and developed into becoming a franchise owner, just taking that with you. And so I would challenge everybody, no matter what you're doing in life, no matter what role you have, always treat it as if it was yours. And I think that's only going to help prepare you as you grow and develop into whatever role or career you're aspiring to be, because just having that mindset of, hey, this is mine. If I need to steward this as if it were mine, like we talk a lot about stewardship in the restaurant, and that's just taking care of a responsibility, whether it be an asset in the business, the equipment, the team, the culture, our community, our customers, like just stewarding the business as best that we can. And so I think that for me, taking that step and really trying to change my mindset to be able to think about the business as if it were mine, as I've grown and developed into being a franchise owner, that was something that was awesome. Really, really good for me.
That's great. I love that perspective and doubling down on that idea. Like, if you treat it like you own it, like, so many opportunities are going to come for you, right? Leaving things better than you found it.
Yeah.
It's just a great trait to have.
And then also I think there's a lot of people, and I can think back to like when I graduated college, I had a 4-year degree. This was 2013. I was making $8 an hour. And I had a lot of college friends that were like making fun of me and laughing at me. And it was a piece of humble pie. And I always try and center myself in humble confidence. Like that's the name of my LLC for Chick-fil-A, is humble confidence. And so being humble in the ways that you need to be, and then also being confident in your ability to step up and rise to the occasion. So I think that in today's day and age, social media, Instagram, there's all this comparison. And maybe this person's the same age as mine. They drive this car, they do that, they have that income. And sometimes, like, being a twin brother, dude, everything's a competition for me and Andrew. And so in my nature, competitive, super, super competitive. But the Bible says comparison is the thief of all joy. And so when you're in that job or you're doing this or doing that, and you have a friend that's just making it and doing really, really great, I would just challenge you not to ever compare yourself, because there are a lot of moments in my young adult life when I was 22, 23, where sometimes it would get you down and you would just think like, man, is this really worth it? Am I I doing the right thing? Like I've got friends that are doing so much better and they're able to go on this vacation and do this trip and that trip. And so I would just challenge you, like compare yourself to yourself and just make sure that you're a little better every day, and look back a couple months, look back a year, and just say like, okay, I've grown in this area, I've grown in that area, and just compare yourself to yourself. Don't compare yourself to others.
So when you think about, I mean, and this again, like I'm talking to you, like it's so many things add up. But like y'all have such great retention and I think for any sales business, y'all have amazing retention. It's mind blowing considering, I think y'all figured out how to do this in the fast food space. And
yes, sir.
How, like, what are the things you do to make the folks feel valued, recognized, that make them want to stay after college? And
so I think it definitely starts in that talent acquisition stage where we want to find out, can they perform the job, but then also like what are they working towards, so that way we can maybe align with them and make sure that, like, we have some people that say, I want to be in the medical field, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a tech, x-ray tech. And so we'll talk about that. There's a lot of opportunity, anything customer based. Like when you're talking about, we do 2,000 transactions a day, that's 2,000 different people that we're going to meet every day. And so being able to talk to somebody and interact with them and connect with them, like that's huge. So I think it starts with that talent acquisition. But when we talk about like the culture and the family environment that we create and the things that we do a lot of really cool things in the restaurant. When we talk about, like, I think it was last Saturday, we did like 143 cars in the drive-thru from 2 to 3. And so it's insane. And so when we celebrate those things,
orders, like,
that's just drive-thru. That's drive-thru. We're not talking about DoorDash. We're not talking about carry out, dine in. That's just drive-thru. So we execute at a very high level. And so when you think about like any professional sports team, you think about the Navy SEALs. Like growing up, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And so like we execute at a super high level. And I think everybody pursues excellence in their own way. But when we get a team that rallies behind that, they want to be a part of that team. And when they maybe look for other employment opportunities and they don't see that, we've had people leave and then they come back and they're like, hey, it's just not the same. Like these people, maybe they don't care, or maybe there's just not that drive or that mindset to pursue that excellence, that precision. Or it's just like we're super intentional in our leadership. We really are dedicated to just have servant-hearted mindset with all of my directors. They're willing to do anything and everything in the restaurant. And I think that's really, really important as well.
That's fantastic. You got me. Good morning. You got me fired up, man.
Yeah.
Where's my red shirt at?
Yeah, and that's what I tell them. Like when I walk into my business, I want to add value. And that could be sitting down and having a one-on-one with my leader. That could be going in and helping them get caught up in operations. It also could be going in and just cleaning tables and talking to my guests. That's my favorite thing to do. Like when I walk into the restaurant and I'm doing that, and my team sees that, and my community sees that, they're like, wow, okay, if the owner's doing that, everybody should be able to do that. And my team knows if they're doing it, if they see their operator doing it, they should be doing it too.
Was there any surprise challenges as you jumped into this work? 'Cause I know you had talked about, being able to help so many other owner-operators open up their restaurants,
yes, sir.
The role you had. But when you did it for your first store, was there any like, oh man, this caught me off guard, or any surprises?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One of the first memories I have, I remember it was March 1st, 2018 was my first day of business in the Columbia Mall. And it was just this like avalanche of emotions of like, wow, like not that I made it, but like it's like all these the sales that are coming in, the food that we're making, like it's all in partnership with Chick-fil-A, but like now it's my restaurant. And I was just like, that was like a big aha moment. And it was just this overwhelming feeling of joy and accomplishment and appreciation. But then this really big just front of responsibility around like, I've got to steward this brand really well. I've got to make sure that my business partner, Chick-fil-A, is happy with how well I steward the business. I got to make sure that I'm taking care of my team and that they're looking up to me, and it all rises and falls on me because I'm the leader. So I think that's one. I think another one, and I think I learned this really early on in my career working with Chick-fil-A, I'm a people guy. Like I love taking care of people. I love serving people. I love making people happy, making people laugh. And so I think early on in my career working for Craig, before I got into LDP with Chick-fil-A Corporate, I learned a lot about how to get results in the business, because we talked a lot about like, are you a relational person or are you a results person? And I think the difference. Like relationships are, hey, happy, let's get it done, let's go. Results are more like, hey, general, military, this is the expectation, this is what we're getting. And so I think a lot of times I aligned heavily on the relational side. And there's one point, it's probably like a couple months from our operator, I was like, man, all the team really likes working with me, but we're just not getting things done the way we should. And we're not as sharp as we could be. And so I think leaning in on, okay, how can I get those results through the relationships? And so now today, like when we talk about those things, it's, hey, I want to be really intentional and understand like, hey, this is a decision that we need to make. This is the relational side of me and this is a decision I want to make, but now we got to turn that off. Let's look at it from a business perspective. So from a business perspective, talk about a team member. Personally, I want them to be better. They can do it. I see the potential, and maybe they don't see it in themselves. And maybe they can get better, but they're not. Business decision, if I'm wasting too much time and I'm trying my best to grow you and develop you or change you, and I know you can do it, but you're not, business decision, it's time to let go.
Yeah.
And it's time to make the best decision for the business. And so I think that's definitely something, again, in my heart, the relational side of things, the emotional intelligence side of things. I want the best for people. I want them to do it, but a lot of times they're not really, or they're not ready, or they don't want to change. And so then it's like, all right, business time. Like let's terminate that.
And I love the filter you're using, right? It's like, hey, listen, you can only meet somebody halfway.
Yeah.
But they got to also do the work, right?
Yes.
And you can't pull them there.
Yes, sir.
And using that as a filter. And I even like the way you kind of phrase it, right? It's like, hey, maybe they're not ready, but today's got to be ready to make that change. Love that. Last question, like last rabbit hole question. And, I would love to just to kind of hear, like, we're in this fast-paced technology environment today. Like you got AI exploding everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like you brought up Uber Eats and DoorDash. Like I'm curious on like how has this new wave of like technology of like the mobile ordering, jumping in now to like whatever Chat GPT is gonna do. Like how has that impacted the business? Has it been good? Has it been bad? Like is it kind of just would love to hear any perspective you have.
Yeah. So a couple of perspectives, good and bad. So think about like when I started with Chick-fil-A, and I haven't been with Chick-fil-A for a super long time compared to a lot of people. Like I've been with Chick-fil-A for a little over 10 years. And I think about the sales channels that we had. We had dine-in, we had carry-out, we had drive-through, we had catering, and I think that's it. So 4 sales channels. I think we have like 10 now. So think about ways you can order Chick-fil-A. So dine-in, carry-out, drive-through, catering, DoorDash, Uber Eats. We've got operator-led delivery where they're essentially being like the DoorDash driver.
Own mobile app.
Yes. And then we've got mobile dine-in, mobile carry-out. We even have mobile through now where some lanes, where if you have 2 lanes all the way around a Chick-fil-A, you can scan your QR code and your order's not even getting taken. So all like 10 sales channels now. So the complexity that's created is definitely challenging from an operational aspect. But from a business aspect, we've more than doubled our sales channels. And so the business has grown tremendously. And it's been such a great opportunity to like, hire more people and grow the business and create more ways that we can serve a craveable food to our awesome guests. And so overall, there's different things, there's challenges. And as the business grows, it definitely gets more complex. And then we add in things like the food safety side of the business and just making sure that we're operating super safe and in a super clean environment and in a way that when we have different companies come in, like a health department or like we have third-party inspector. So like one thing I'll talk about, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but talk about like food safety. So there's like the Maryland or the FDA level of food health department. Their standards might be here. Chick-fil-A standards are unbelievably higher. Like it's insane. So when the health department walks in, they already know like, hey, you guys are doing a great job.
It's always A+.
Awesome. See ya. Yeah. So that's something that's really, really important to us. And that's part of the culture that we create, especially in the back house. First thing we teach you to do is, well, how to wash your hands. You know how to wash your hands? So big thing.
Like you talked a lot about like faith, and I can hear it in your leadership. Like would love to hear like how do you balance like that faith with diversity efforts, right? You leave large diverse teams with different thoughts. But it's still about like y'all still create this really hospitable environment. Like we'd love to hear how you balance your personal faith with leadership.
Yeah. So all that coexists. Like the man that I was called to be, the father I was called to be, the husband that I was called to be, the entrepreneur that I was called to be, I'm going to be the same person no matter what hat I'm wearing. And so I don't want to preach at my team. I think they all know that they know that I'm a Christian. They know that I'm saved, and they know that that's important to me. But I think that you practice what you preach. And so at the end of the day, like, my team knows that I'm going to do whatever I can for anybody, whether it's a team member, a guest. I'm just going to try and live out my life the way Christ has called me to serve others and to love on others and to just do whatever I can to just bring joy in people's lives. And so I think that, again, it's what an opportunity that I get to do that every day. And so for me, like, that comes naturally. And whether I've got an operator name tag on, or at my girl's school, or with my wife and we're out to dinner, whatever, I'm the same person. And so it's just, for me, it's awesome. I love that I don't have to hide it. I don't have to change the way I act or the way I talk or the way I do anything. And that's me.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
That's the best place to be, because you can serve all your energy and be really intentional. You're not using energy being somebody else. Right?
Exactly.
Love the perspective. Anything last words like you would like to leave folks with?
I think when you think about whatever you're doing in life, I think it's really important to have outlets, something that's going to build you up, something that's going to re-energize you. And so that's a question that I like to ask, is like, hey, what do you do outside of work? What energizes you? And so I think whatever that is, it could be reading. It's not for me. It could be going out on a walk. Like, I love going for walks. For me, I love to fish. I'm on the water, and just being out on the boat, being disconnected from my phone, just being out casting and fishing and out with friends catching fish. That's a huge hobby to me. So I would challenge everybody, just have something that's an outlet. And so, like, for my wife and I, she's like, hey, Spencer, you need to go fishing. You just need to get out on a boat. Like, if I'm having, not that I'm having a rough day, but if I haven't fished in a couple of days, or more like a couple of weeks, she knows. It's like, hey, Spencer, go fishing, go do something. And so I think that's really important in life, in all aspects of life, wherever you are in life, just to have something that can build you up, have something that you can look forward to, have something that really just kind of calms you. Not that we all need therapy, but for me, fishing is my therapy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Listen, I love that. Love that. Spencer, this has been great. I swear, I don't know. I think I'm just getting to interview better and better guests or something like this. This is awesome. Listen, thank y'all for clicking on another video. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And again, any questions, drop them in the comments. I think this is really, really great dialogue. It's not very often that we get an opportunity to talk to someone that gets to impact so many different lives. And again, thank you for sharing the perspective. Like, it translated so well to me from, as a consumer, to like hear how you think about these things.
Yes, sir.
And how it feels when you walk into the restaurant. And
yes, sir.
I think it creates this difference between customer service and hospitality. And I think y'all have done a really great job at your location at Vista Gardens.
Thanks
doing
so much.
So go visit them. If you need any catering things, hit my man's up at Vista Gardens.
Yes, sir.
This is Jimmy. Spencer, we see y'all soon.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you, man.